File handling in Java, what we can do in file handling, we can read and we can also write. Right? These are the two things that we can do with file handling. And let me also tell you that, okay, last time, before this topic, last time, all of our data are transient. When we say transient, it's not permanent. It's not permanent. It's not saved on this. When we terminate our program, all our data, like when you input your first name, your last name, age, whatever data that you do, calculate, sum, and so on and so forth, whatever data that we were dealing with before this topic, are just trashed away. In other words, na itatapon lang, nawawala, nagdi-disappear kapag nag-terminate na yung program. Okay? Right now, I'm introducing to you a way to make your data permanent. We're going to have a simple implementation of database. When we say database, it's a collection of raw data. It's a collection of unprocessed data. And then, we can save them permanently in a disk, in a permanent storage. Okay? Before, we are just putting our data in our, what do you call that? In our RAM. Our RAM is volatile memory. When we say volatile memory, everything that is put in that, when you shut down the computer, will go away. It will disappear. Not just when you shut down the computer. Even when you terminate a program, all the data that's been produced, generated during the execution of a program will be what? Will be gone. Okay? When we say will be gone, mawawala na siya. Now, ang gagawin natin, Mr. Nail, isi-save natin siya sa file para yung mga data natin ay ma-retrieve pa rin natin later na iraran ulit natin yung program. That's the idea of file handling. That's the benefit of file handling. Okay? Now, let's dig directly into that. Okay. So, first, I already introduced to you OOP, right? We're going to use two classes. Okay, we'll begin with writing. Reading first. We will do reading first. Okay? We're going to read files. Now, I know that you are already aware using a text file. Pag nagbabasa kayo ng text file, guys, simple lang yung ginagawa nyo doon, di ba? Ang ginawa doon, yung napanood nyo doon sa tutorial, you read the file and then i-display niya sa console yung laman niya, right? Maalala niyo yun? Ngayon, I wanna introduce to you a more structured text file. Ang tawag doon ay CSV. When we say CSV, it's a comma, separated value, CSV. It's a text representation of your spreadsheet file. Spreadsheet file, when we say spreadsheet file, Excel, Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets, it's a way of recording data in a tabular form. And usually, the most common way, guys, the most common way to store data is put them in tables. Okay? Put them in tables. And I also introduced to you before that we can represent those two-dimensional array. We can represent our data, list of data in a two-dimensional array. But the problem with Java is it's so strict. If you declare the two-dimensional array as int, you cannot have other value other than int. But we can make use of the object-oriented programming way, wherein we can have a list of objects. Each object can have what do you call this? We can have. Okay, now, so let's generate a CSV using a spreadsheet application like the Google Sheet. It's just an online application, something like that. So, like what I've said, we can store our data in table format. Like the easiest is, let's have a list of students. What do we have with students? What are data or the fields or columns or properties, object-oriented programming way, or mind rather, object-oriented programming mind. What are the data that we can store for a student? We start with student ID. What else? First name, last name. What else? Middle name. Okay, let's just, for the sake of simplicity, let's just use first name and last name. What else? What we can have? Okay. Course. Let's just stick with this. 1, 2, 3, 4. But you can continue. It depends on the application that you are building or the company that requires a system. In other words, it's up to them what is important for you to record. But for the sake of simplicity, let's narrow it down to these 4 fields so we don't make it complicated for you guys as beginners. Okay? Now let's create so these are the headers, and now let's create a records, meaning rows. Let me give a 1. Mr. Makagba, what's your student ID?
270116.
First name is Ricardo Makagba ESIT. 69 yun? 69 ba yan? 60. Okay, next. Mr. Martin. First name is Eisler. Hindi ko na alam yung second name mo. Huwag na yun. Next, Mr. Nail.
230-1990.
239. Like that?
No, 239 naman yun. 0 yun. 230.
1990.
1998. S. S.
Okay, for example. Okay, the list may go on. Okay. Now we can save this into a text format called CSV or comma separated value. I'm going to go to the file, and then download, and then comma separated values. That's CSV. Okay. Save that. And you will have this one. Let me open this one. As you can see, you can open this with, as by default, you can open it with a spreadsheet application if you have an installed application like that. But you can actually open this with any text editor because CSV are just kind of text file. When we say text file, they are basic files that do not have any special formatting like DOCX, docs. What else? What are other types of text file? You can have the .java, .html, anything that doesn't have special or complex formatting that you can open with any text editor like this. If I'm going to open that with a text editor, you can open that with VS Code, with IntelliJ. You can actually do that with IntelliJ. You can actually do that with Notepad. Okay, let me show you that you can open that with Notepad. Right click there, open with Notepad, same content. And why the reason why it is called CSV, comma separated value, is that all the data are separated with comma. This is one record, second, third. You call them record. You call them record or row. Individual items in there are called fields or properties or columns. Now we can basically represent this in an object-oriented programming way. Like we can create what? We can create a class for that to represent that. Okay? Or what we will do later is we're going to create a person and then a student that extends that so that we can apply inheritance. We will do that later. Okay, now this is the text file. Now let me just rename that, make it descriptive. Let me just name it as student. Now what I will do, I'm going to place that in my this one. I'm going to place it here, and I'm going to manipulate that. So this is how we do. Let me just create a new class there, and I'm going to name it as CSV reader or parser, or let me just have it like CSV app. Okay? Or maybe not just CSV app. Let me just use student app. Okay? Student info app. Okay? Something like that. Press enter. And then the next thing that I'm going to do, I can place the file there by simply dragging the file, open it there side by side. And I can click that and drag it there. Make sure that it is in the parent folder and that will be placed inside this folder. Or an alternative way is you can open that. You can just copy this one and locate the directory where this is saved. It's basically in your idea pad, and the project name. It's the users, faculty, idea pad, and then this one. I can look at that. I already have the student info up there. I can right click and paste it there. It's whatever way. But I'm going to just do it like this, which is the simpler one. I'm just going to drag it here. Refactor, yes. I already have that. If I'm going to double click it, it's just display the same thing as we saw in the notepad application. Now, what am I going to do this time is I'm going to read this in my program. So how am I going to do that? Let me begin here. So I'm going to create a main method, and then I'm going to create a separate method to read the file. So I can have a public static void read. I can just say read or read CSV. I can name it like that. Okay? And then I can have a global variable. Let me have a global variable, declare it in the class block, a global variable that will contain the path. When we say path, what is path? Daraanan. Ito? Path is the location of the file that I'm going to load, or the file name itself. So my path, I'm going to initialize the value of path. You can declare a variable. Do you remember that you can declare sing? Did you attend online? Okay. So I'm going to initialize path with a value equal to the file name, which is student.csv. Something like that. Okay? So this one is this one. So you don't have to specify the file location since they just belong to the directory. Nandun lang sila sa isang folder, kaya ganyan. Pero tignan nyo gagawa ako ng folder dito like new package. Tignan nyo ang mangyayari. Gawa ko ng package, tapos gagamitin ko siya ng data. Package pagbubuksan nyo dun sa folder, dun sa folder, yung file explorer, yung package are just folder names. Folder rather, not folder names. If I'm going to press that, and I'm going to drag this there, I want you to watch this. Magbabago siya. Tingnan nyo siya, magbabago. Refactor, nilagyan na siya ng prefix, which is the name of the folder kung nasaan siya. Kung ilalabas ko tuloy yan, tingnan nyo ulit mangyayari. Pag ilalabas ko yan, pupunta ko dyan, refactor, babalik siya doon. Okay? I want you to learn file structure in any file system. That's common and that's similar to whatever operating system that you will go, even in macOS or Unix, like Linux. Okay? So nakita niyo yun? So it has to be saved there. I'm going to put there because it's common to separate our Java code and our data files. We have to segregate them para malinis yung codes natin. Lagay ko na siya dyan, refactor. Ayan, nag-automatic na siya dyan. So the location of my file is inside my data folder, which is this one. You have to make sure of that. Okay? Okay? Kapag hindi mo nilagay yung right path, mag-i-error, hindi niya mahanap yung file. Okay? File not found. That will give an error like file not found. Now let's proceed. Let's proceed. I wanna do the, what do you call this? The read file. So I will do it like this. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to use a class called buffered reader, which is located in the java.io package. Can you see my screen? Okay, let me just close this one to make what do you call that? Take advantage of the full screen. Okay, now I'm going to name the object as reader. So buffered reader is just a class. Now you know already how to create your own class. That's just it. So this is created by Java, the Java maker, whoever who built that. Basically, that's been who already founded or developed Java, who invented Java. Starts with letter S. Two words, S and M. SM Megamall, SM Supermall, Xerox Manga. No, it's Sun Microsystem. And then later on, binili na ni Oracle. Sila na yung nag-develop o nag-improve. But they are open source copy pa rin. You can still have an open JDK. When you say open JDK, open source JDK, the JDK that's not provided by the Oracle company. But what we are using, what we set up in our computer are the ones provided by the Oracle. Okay? Now, buffered reader, and then let's we're not going to instantiate it now. We're going to instantiate it later because there's a way to instantiate it. We can instantiate it by putting the file in it already. Now we will use a try-catch. Hopefully you studied try-catch already. The purpose of try-catch is what? To prevent crashing when an unexpected error is detected. You are catching an error and you avoid crashing your program. Isn't it when we encounter error before, our program terminates abnormally? We don't want to do that. What we are going to do, catch an unexpected error. And it will just display an error message or just say something went wrong, something like that. And we do not let our computer, our program, we do not let our program to be terminated unexpectedly. Okay? Try, and it's always partnered with catch. And the catch is, inside the catch, the name of the exception class that will handle the error. For buffered reader, the name of the exception, the name of the class that handles the error for buffered reading is IO exception. Like that. So I can have e.get, I'm going to south e.get message. Now, okay, there's a problem there. I have to put it here. So, why it's in error? Because I have nothing inside it yet. If I'm going to put reader is equal to new buffered reader. Now, buffered reader takes in another object of the file reader. Okay? This file reader takes in a string of the path of the file that we are going to read. Okay, in some case, I want to tell you about the difference between buffered reader and file reader. Because pwedeng file reader lang ang gagamitin natin, wala nang buffered reader. Pwede yan. Pero ginamitan natin siya ng buffered reader kasi ito ang benefit niya. Mas mabilis. Pag ginamitan natin siya ng buffered reader. Bakit? Si file reader class, he reads directly from the disk. Yung disk natin, yung SSD or yung HDD. Si buffered reader naman, nagbabasa siya sa RAM. Ano ang mas mabilis? RAM? Reading from RAM or reading from SSD? RAM, mabilis yun. Super high speed. I'm not just aware what's the difference of the speed between a RAM and an SSD. Even though SSD napakabilis na ngayon, di ba? Mas mabilis pa rin si RAM. Ngayon, ang gagawin niya dito, it's going to load the file from this path, and then it's going to copy all of its content into our RAM, and then later on, pag i-access, i-process na natin yung content ng file, sa RAM na tayo magbabasa, hindi na doon sa SSD. Yun ang benefit ng buffered reader. Nagets? So, mas mabilis si buffered reader. I will just provide a note explaining the benefit of buffered reader. Basahin nyo na lang yon later on. But that just it. Mas mabilis siya. Pero ang disadvantage naman yan is kung maliit lang yung RAM mo, kokonti na lang yung space na pwedeng gamitin ng ibang application ng computer mo. Anyway, most computer naman natin ngayon hindi na 4 gig eh. Ang default na RAM ng mga binibili yung mga computer ngayon, binibili yung computer 8 gig na and up, right? Wala nang 4 gig. Wala nang 4 gig ngayon. Maliit sa 4 gig, laggish yung Windows mo or whatever operating system kung 4 gig lang yung RAM mo. Bakit kasi? To give you an idea, there again, RAM are our computer's workspace. Kahit na super lakas ka, pero kung yung space mo ay napakaliit, limitado yung magagawa mo. That's the idea behind it. Now, let's proceed. So what we are doing here, we are reading the file. How? By specifying the path. The path is this one. That's the value of that. Okay? This do nothing. This does nothing yet kasi hindi pa naman natin kinol si read CSV. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is basahin na natin siya. Okay? Paano natin siya basahin? Simple lang. We're going to what? We're going to read. Tingnan nyo ito Pag ginawa kong ganito, dalawang read mag-system.out one ako. System.south. Ang ilalagay ko dito is yung reader. Tapos, read line. Tingnan nyo kung ano ang makikita nyo dyan. Okay? Run. Bakit wala? Kasi hindi pa natin tinawag. We have to invoke the method like this one. That's why it does nothing. Isn't it? The thing that's being run in our application is everything inside our main. Now, this won't be run unless it's invoked or called in the main method. Let me run it again. What will it display? It's going to display the first line. Now, let me copy this one again and paste it. Look at this. Watch this, guys. Okay. It displays the second row. So the idea there is, we're just going to loop this one so it will read every line. Okay? Why are you saying wow? Na-amaze kayo? Nakakatuwa naman kasi nagkaka-interest kayo. Nakaka-excite magturo pag ganyan. Okay, tuloy natin. Ano ba gagawin natin? Ganyan na lang ba? Mag-read line na lang tayo ng ilang beses, ganyan? Para i-display lahat? Paano natin malalaman kung wala nang... Tingnan nyo mag-read line ulit ako, paglagay ako, sobrahan ko, tingnan nyo ang mangyayari. Magkakaroon ng null. Wala na siyang value, empty na. So ang gagawin natin, i-loop natin siya hanggang sa dulo lang ng content. Okay? So paano natin gagawin siya? Gagamitan natin yan ng mas maganda. Okay. Anong gagamitin natin? For o while? Sinong gusto ng 4? Taas ang kamay. 4. Sige nga, 4. Taas yung ang kamay, Mr. Miko, nagsabi ng 4. Pag while, sino may while? Gusto ng while? Sino gusto ng do while? Okay, I tell you the reason. Si for, ginagamit natin si for. We use for if we know until when we look. Si while, we use that when we are not certain until it stops. Now, initially, we do not know how long the file is. Okay, unless we have to use another method to read or determine its size. But the most efficient way or the more efficient way is we just read it until the end. So, in other words, we are not certain until it ends. So, we are just going to use the while. So, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to declare a variable here, which is a string, because basically, when we are reading from file, okay, when we are reading from file, guys, all the contents are strings. We are reading from file, and the data are strings initially. Even numbers, they are initially string, unless we're going to convert them into numeric data type, and we're going to do that later on. Okay? Now let's do that. Now we're going to declare a string. The string will serve as a temporary storage space per line. And that's how we are going to do this. While, we can do it like this basically. While row dot read line. Okay? No, not row dot read line. Sorry. That should be while reader dot read line. And then is not equal to null. But we have to save this in a variable. The content of this iterated line, or these lines that are being loaded per iteration. So we're going to put that in a row, and I have to enclose this with a parenthesis. So what does this do? We can do this with while. I did not introduce this to you when we used while, right, before, but we can do it like this. We can do assignment into a variable, like we read a line and then put that in a row, and then we have to do this until it's not null. Okay? Like this one, we are going to avoid this one. Now, inside this, I'm going to just, let's say, south and then row. What we will see there, it's going to output all of the contents effectively. Okay? Now let's process this further. Now I just wanna consider this one. I wanna discard this header, because what's important here are the content of our table, not the headers. We are going to use the header later on for identifying the properties of the object that we're going to create. Okay? We're going to create person and student class later on. How do we discard that? Similar to your scanner, next slide, we can discard a single row or a single line by just doing it like this. Reader.readline. Okay, this contains our header. And since we are not assigning it to a variable, we are just trashing it out. Tinatapon lang natin yung laman niya. Kaya kapag niran ko na ito, makikita nyo wala na yung header. Pure data na yung dinidisplay. And I can now proceed to processing our data further. Okay, discard header. We don't like it. We don't need it. How do we like to discard? How do we like to process it? For example, we can convert this into an array of strings. Do you know that we can convert that into a string so that the ID, the first name, the last name, and the course is isolated from each other? When we say isolated, na-divide na siya. Para pag gusto natin i-display lang yung mga first name, we can just do that. How do we do that? We can use a function called split. Okay, let's create a string array. String call for column. Okay. Is equal. You can name it whatever you like, but let me just use call because it would be descriptive to use that. String call is equal to row that you use this split, and then regex. Did you do the regex activity? Okay, good. It's so simple, right? Now I'm going to split my line with comma, meaning I'm going to divide this single string into multiple string. The divider is the split. So how many? Okay, in this case, guys. Okay, this should be an array. That should be an array. Sorry. In this, what is the length of the array if I'm going to split this by comma? How many? What's the length of the array? It would be 4. Very good. Now, let me try to display the first name only. If I'm going to display the first name only, I'm just going to say, sum, call, what's the index of our first name? 0, 1. So that's 1. Okay? Remember your array. Do not forget your array. It's very useful. It's one of the data structure common. If I'm going to print that, it's just going to display all the first name. And I can access all the rest of the column by just using the index. That's just it. Now, okay, did you get this one? How we can process individual line of our text file or our CSV, and we can create arrays for that. Yes, any question?
Sir,
Wait.
sir, since people give
Sure.
yung row that split ko, ano yung
The row that split there, ang ginagawa niyan, Mr. Nel, dinidivide niya yung whole string na comma separated into individual text. Gagawa siya ng array. Halimbawa, ito, yan, ito. Yung whole string na yan, single string lang na yan, gagawa siya ng array of 1, 2, 3, 4 string. Yun ang ginagawa ng split. Ini-split niya. Parang split. Mag-split ka nga. Alam mo mag-split? Dinidivide niya. Alam mo ba mag-split? Parang gano'n. Hindi, iba yun. Yung split na yun, dinidivide niya, sinisegregate niya yung per column. Okay? Yung per comma, per item, okay. Ito, magiging ganito. Yung yan, magiging isang item na yan. Second item, third item, fourth item ng isang array. Ano bang itsura ng array natin? It's like a cabinet with multiple boxes. So ilalagay niya yung individual na yan dun sa individual box. Parang ganun. Ise-separate na niya. Yun ang gamit ng split. Nakuha mo? Okay.
Sir, bakit kasi yung isa ko require to Israel ko.
Ano?
Yung parang pagkuha niya require to Israel,
Hindi na buo kasi tignan mo to, ang prinin ko lang dyan is yung column 1, yung index 1 dyan, that would be the first name. Kasi ito, magiging array na ito nga, array na yan. Ano ba ang index ng first name? 1, di ba? Magsimula tayo sa 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. Mag-review ka dun sa array mo, array yan, array. Pinag-aralan natin na array na yan. Okay, how do you access individual elements? You use the index. Ilalagay mo dun sa loob ng bracket. Nagets? Mag-review ka, para hindi ka dito. Okay. Now, ang gusto ko nang gawin, guys, i-apply na natin. I wanna apply the object-oriented. Gawa na tayo ng object ng class to represent our individual row. Okay? Paano natin gagawin yan? Gawa muna tayo ng class. Dalawang class na gagawin natin. Okay? Para ma-implement natin so that we can take advantage of the inheritance. So basically, what are the two classes that we can create with this? We have the person and the student. Okay? So let's do that. So first, I'm going to create a new file there. The name of my class will be person. And then another is the student. Our student will inherit from the person. Later on, not other way around, not person inheriting from the student. That's different. So let's work with person first. So what are the fields that is common to each student person? What is the field, guys, that is common to each person? We have the first name, the last name. No, basing from our data here. It's just the first name and the last name. That will change. Magbabago yan later on, depende sa gagawa nyo ng application. Okay? So I'm going to go here and I'm going to have, is it public or private? Or default? Okay. We have discussed about encapsulation. All properties should be hidden or encapsulated. Okay? Private. For first name, that's a string. Should it be static or non-static? Non-static. When you are declaring a property of a class or an object, it should be non-static. Ang difference dito, dito guys, static siya because it's not, this is not, we're not going to instantiate this. We're not going to create an object for this one. So basically, this is the starting point of our whole application. And basically, kapag starting point yan ng application mo, most of them are just static. You are just, it's where you create objects of the other classes na ginawa mo dyan. Dyan yung pinag-uugnayan ng lahat. Okay? So, punta tayo kay person. String, first name. Remember again the naming convention. Stick to that. String, last name. Now, let's create one constructor. Okay? That will initialize the value of all our fields. Public person, this is a constructor. When we say constructor, that's invoked when we create or initialize an object of this class. So we will have string, first name, string, last name. Okay? And we will just assign this to the two fields. This, that first name. Now the reason why, to remind you, the reason why I have to create this is to refer to this. Because I have a local variable first name is just a parameter. Okay, remember that guys. Equal to first name. Rather than doing it as this, last name is equal to last name, that will do nothing. Okay, you are just assigning the value to itself. So I have to put this there. Okay, and then we're done with that. And then let's create another method which is, this will just, this will just declare, this will just display the full name. So we can have public, we can have string, public string, we can have two string, this is common. Two string guys, you are just representing your object in a string format. Okay, or you can have full name. You can do that. So you can have return and then first name. Now I don't have to use this here anymore because there's only one first name in this context, which is the, what do you call this? The instance variable or the global variable. Okay, it has nothing to conflict with. And then last name. Okay, like that. Should be plus there. Okay, thank you. Now, let's proceed. Now, I can now go and create objects. No, not really. I have to create the student first. My student basically will just be what? Will just be extends. It's going to extend my person class. Okay? Person. Okay, like that. Okay? But says here, there's no default constructor available in person. It says there, this will be an error, so I have to create a no-arg constructor. So it's required, if you are extending from a parent class, the parent class should have a no-arg constructor. What is a no-arg constructor? A no-arg constructor is just a constructor that is blank. Okay? Something like this, public, person, and then like that. And the problem will go away. Now, I will add more fields that is specific to student class. There are two. Number one is the student ID, and then number two is the course. So private, what's the data type? What's the best data type that we can represent that? Huh? Data type. What's the data type? Is it string, double, float, int? Okay, we can use in or no, long is too much. Even in is too much, guys. In is too much. Basically, we can just use the one smaller than in. That's short. Short. We can use that. But let's just use the convention. Let's just use in. Private in student ID, or we can just say ID. Okay, we can use just ID. Okay, that would be better. Why? Because we already have it here, student. And then we also have private course, private string course. Okay, and then let's create public, public this student, and we're going to have in ID as parameter, and then string course. This dot ID is equal to ID, and then we also have this dot course is equal to course. Now, in this, I want also to initialize my first name and last name already. Okay, that's common. Let's just do it like that. How do we do that? We can add more fields here like in ID, and then we just do the order as presented in the CSV. String first name, and then string last name. And then what we will do here, how are we going to call the parent? We use the super dot first name, or we can just say like this, super first name, and then last name, like that. Okay? That, or an alternative to that, guys, is this one. Super the first name is equal to first name, but we cannot do it because it is a private. We cannot do it. It's only if we declared first name as public or default constructor without private or public, yun yung default. Default yun kapag walang private at walang public. Kung ganon, protected, pwede pa. Ma-access. Pero let's just stay, tingnan nyo subukan natin si protected. Gagana siya. Uy, I discussed that already. Mag-review kayo. Si super, the use of super is you are going to access the parent property. Yung this naman, its own property. Si parent, yung parent property, you can access that with the use of the super keyword. Kapag ganyan, you're accessing the property. But if you are calling the constructor of your parent, you can use the super and then with the parenthesis. Okay? Nagets? Kung this naman na may ganon, you are calling the other constructor within itself, within the class itself. Okay? It would be better to do it like this na lang. This is better. And then we're going to put this back to private. I want you to be familiarized about how accessible is protected, default, private, public, whatever context. Can it be in different class, child, or different package? Nilagay ko na yun sa discussion last time. Mag-review na lang kayo. Okay? So, that's just it. And then, what else that we can do? We can override. This time, we can override the toString. Like, we can have an override directive here. I think this is called directive. This one. It overrides that. It returns that super toString, and then I'm going to concatenate this with the ID plus the toString. I'm going to put a divider there, like the pipe symbol. You call this pipe symbol. And then I can have, maybe I just have the course and then the ID here. It would be better. It would be nice. Like that. Like that. Just a space to separate them. Like this one. You will see how it looks like later on when we call this one. Okay, it's common to do this one. It's a, it just helps the IDE to tell that this is an overridden variable. When we say overriding, overriding is defining a method that is already present in the parent. You call that overriding. As to differentiate to the word overloading, yung overloading naman, defining same name function, defining a function with that is similar to other function in their names, pero iba yung signature niya, like mas maraming parameters or ibang data type ng parameters niya. Yun yung overloading, same class. Si overriding naman, you are redeclaring the function that is already present in the parent. Even though you can call that already when you say you create an object for a student. Ang inheritance kasi guys, ang inheritance, ganito siya. Lahat ng properties except private ay pag-aari na ni student. Yung mga private, hindi mo pwedeng inherit yan. Only the public and the default modifier. Ang concept ng inheritance, guys, kung ano ang sa kanya ni parent, pag-aari na rin ni child. Whatever is of the parent is already the property of the child. Yan yung concept ng inheritance. Parang kayo, typically speaking, kung ano ang pag-aari ni tatay at nanay niyo, pag-aari niyo na rin, mamanahin niyo sila pag mamatay na sila. Di ba? That's the concept of it. Even in object-oriented programming, a child, when we say child, ano ang child dito? The student inherits from the person there is the parent. This is a subclass, this is a superclass. This is a child class, this is a parent class. Kwan lang yun, different naming lang yun. Okay? Nag-gets you guys? Now, let's now proceed to our app and let's create objects already. Okay? Any question?
Di ba yung sabi mo na kanina, yung private, parang hindi
Pwede. Okay. Mr. Neil, everything that you're asking me is already discussed. I just want you to review them again, para hindi tayo paulit-ulit at pabalik-balik. Okay. So, private, hindi siya pwedeng ma-inherit. Okay. I discussed that already. What else? What questions? Ano pang questions mo regarding this? Wala na? Okay. Makalimutan? Okay. Okay. Anyway, that's good. I appreciate that. Okay, I appreciate that. But for us to save time, I want you to do your study, review, practice that. I always tell you guys, practice at home. Para hindi tayo pabalik-balik. It consumes time. Okay, it consumes time. No, I'm not scolding you. Just okay. But I'm just telling you that you have to practice and review at home. Okay? Para hindi tayo pabalik-balik sa discuss lesson. Understood? Okay. If you have some question new pertaining to our topic today, it's just okay if you bring it up. Okay? Okay, guys. Let's continue now. We can now create objects that will represent our data. Ang tawag nyo dito is modeling. Okay? Ang tawag dito is modeling. When I say modeling, we are going to model our data with the use of class. At mas maganda yan. It's a good data structure. Mas organized siya rather than using arrays. Kasi hindi mo pwedeng gawin yan in an array lang. Kasi si array, uniform lang siya. Single data type lang siya. Pero si object, it's a collection of variables with varying data types. O, di ba, mas maganda siya, mas madali. Access mo na lang siya using the name of the property. Now, let's continue. So, dito, gagawa na tayo pwede na tayong gumawa ng objects ng person or student? Person or student? Anong gagawa natin ng object? What should we do? What we should create the object of? Student. Because these are students. Okay? Not person kasi person, dalawa lang ang may store natin na value kay person. Si first name as last name lang. Si student, lahat ng listed fields. So we're going to go back here. Let me just copy this to serve as a guide for us. Okay? Place it here. There. And then let's now instantiate. Okay, let's now instantiate or create an object of student. Student. And then let's just call it as S, whatever object name you can call that. And then new student. And then we're going to place there the ID, which is, how do we access the ID? It's in the column at index 0. That's the very beginning. And then call 1. And then call 2. Oops, sorry. Call 2. And then call 3. Like that. But it says here, this requires an integer. How do we do that? We can convert the string into an integer. It's so easy to do that. We can just call integer dot parse in. What does that do? This parse in. Like that. Or not, in order not to confuse you, I can put it here. In ID is equal to integer that parse in the string, which is the column at 0, like that. And I will just have to replace this with ID. So this time, we have already created object for individual rows. Okay. Okay. Now let's try to output the value of a single property trying. Okay lang. Okay lang yan? Okay lang daw. Okay, tumawa. Bira kayo. Okay. Now let's try how do we output a variables content, Mr. Neil? It's by using the do we output something on the screen? How do we output? What do we use? System. Okay, we use system .out.println. Okay, how am I going to display the full information? No, using the object. Using the object. What should I put inside that? S dot to string. Okay? Let's try that one, guys. Ang hirap, guys! And look at that. We already have created an object and it shows us already the whole information. Now, ang pangit ng pipe symbol, palitan natin. Kaya gawin na lang natin siya. Tama na nga? Gawin natin siyang ganyan. Mas maganda yan. Okay? Ngayon, hindi pa tayo tapos. We can now utilize array list para gumawa ng array of objects. O pwede rin array of objects. Pwede rin. Kaso nga lang, si array of objects, fix siya, right? Si array list, pwede tayong magdagdag, pwede tayong magbawas, and so on and so forth. So, anong gagamitin nyo? Si array o si array list? Array list. So, gumawa tayo, guys, ng global variable here para accessible siya anywhere in the class. Okay? I-declare natin siya na static array list. Anong type niya? Anong type? What's the object type? Student. Very good. Student. Maalala niyo yung array list yun ng data structure. Katulad ng sinabi ko sa inyo, we can interchange, we can use, magagamit natin yung napapag-aralan natin sa data structure kay Compro, magagamit din natin yung napapag-aralan natin kay Compro sa data structure. Mag-asawa yun. Okay? Sino may asawa na sa inyo dyan? Okay? Pangalanan na lang natin siyang student list. Okay? Uninitialize. And then, inside our main, basically si main, dito rin natin ginagawa yung initialization ng variables. Let's do that before read CSV. How do we initialize that? Student list is equal to new array list. Yan. Gagamitin natin yung list na yan to record our what do you call that? To record the items of our CSV. Alisin ko na ito yan. Gumagana na yung object natin. I mean, na-convert na natin yung individual row into objects. Ang gagawin ko na lang is mag-add ako sa sa student list. Paano ko gagawin yon? I'm going to call the student list and then dot add and then s. Ayan. Ngayon, try natin. For example, gawa ako ng another function. Huwag niyong kalimutan pala yung panyo Java doc nyo mahalaga yun. Yan. Bakit hindi niya na in-automatic? Ay, wala. This read CSV. Okay, wala pala. Kasi void, wala din siyang parameter. Okay, gawa tayo ng public static void display students. Di-display natin sila. So, anong gagamitin natin? For each. Okay? For each student, I'm going to do that. I'm going to store that in a student S, whatever. You can use any variable name for my student list. Tapos, gawin ko ulit yung ginawa ko kanina na yung mag-display ng person, ay ng full information. So, S, sub s dot to string, and then tawagin natin si display students dito. Yan. Hindi natin kailangan i-assign ito sa variable kasi void lang naman sila. Ayan, same result.